I'm gonna go live. Boom. Okay, we're live. Sweet. So industry talks. We've got Olivier, Christophe, and Ivan this week. Pretty much the discussion is self-teaching, mentorship, and academia, and sort of, kind of what we see when it comes to artists that go through schools, ones that are self-taught, and just basically going from A to B, going from a beginner to getting into an actual job. So I guess, Ivan, do you want to sort of kick off just, what your thoughts are? Because, you're a self-taught artist. You were telling us that, you've done a bit of modding as well. That's, that seems to be...
Yeah. I mean, I still went to the Future Games Academy in Stockholm for about 1.5 years before I got my internship at Machine Games. So, I mean, self-taught to the point where I learned more on my own than I ever did on anybody teaching me in school or anything like that. Because the Future Games School had some people from the industry, whilst my prior information was just hobbyists, and what I learned on my own was more valuable. I mean, that's where my motivation came from when I started out doing 3D. And I just wanted to learn more because it was very interesting for me. So just looking out tutorials online, everything that I pretty much learned was on forums like Polycount or the predecessor on ArtStation. I don't remember the name of it, but and then YouTube, loads of YouTube. But I never had any proper mentor until I got into my internship at Machine Games. That's where I actually learned for real. Everything prior to that was just I can do basic stuff. I can do an art. I can do a model. I can texture, all that stuff. But it was completely changed as soon as I got my internship or some sort of involved into the industry. It worked fine for, as I said, when I started doing some mods for some games that I really like to play. I did some mods for Mountain Blade back in the day, and now currently actually, but it's been on ice for a while. but still going into the Mountain Blade modding scene, which I found really interesting. Or just observing modding scenes or people that do modding and see the community in those modding forums are really interesting as well. Sorry, where am I going with this?
I don't know. I think you're just giving us the full rundown of your education. I think I think there is a lot of value in mod teams because I think you get that early sort of stage team project dynamic and you're kind of thrown into the deep end, right?
I think it's if anything, if you're you're interested in going into game development, but you don't have any motivation or you don't know where to go with it, you're completely fresh. Getting in touch with a modding community might be the first step, so you get into an environment where people are working with this. Some forum modding groups do have industry professionals, and some people are just hobbyists. So it's very important to keep in mind, if the information that the thing that teach you in these forums is from the people's experiences. There's usually no standard. There is usually just someone grabbed a document from the modding community from the game, the Mountain Blade has a documentation of how to import assets and how to do assets, but it might be very different from other games. Just bear that in mind, and also what people are doing. That's kind of where I'm getting to. If once in an environment like this with people that are motivated as you are to do art and improve yourself, you learn so much from those people around you. I mean, even though I have quite a lot of years of experience doing art for games, I still learn a lot from these groups. See how they do stuff. If there is anything new, what tools they use, and so on and so on. And also how to use work with the game that they're modding as well. It's very interesting. So it's a great platform to just enter and see how it feels. Like, do you like it, or do you feel that maybe I should work with maybe only graphical design or programming on a different level or anything like that? If it's like game development that you're interested in. But if you have a good modding forum, you're very lucky and happy if you're into that game. That is like
like
a very fun experience.
You need pretty much like games that there's really strong kind of communities, like Skyrim, Oblivion, like those Fallout, yeah man, Fallout mods were the shit. I remember always loved like checking out like the new guns, texture packs, reshades. I think they're really neat. I guess like there's a lot of mods too that turned into games, like DayZ. DayZ was like a good example of
what was DayZ a mod of? So
Arma. So like pretty much like the military sim engine, essentially. Like they basically converted something that was like built to do a military simulation, and then they took those mechanics and made it like added new ones, like if you get bitten by a zombie or whatever, or was it you'd have like hunger, you'd have hydration, and like you'd have bandits, like you could steal shit from people. This is like really dope. You never played DayZ?
I never did. No.
No, it was huge. Like that, it kind of became like its own genre, like open world survival, zombie apocalypse, and then like a bunch of knockoffs got made. It was just they were just really bad.
I think like there was always like an interest area of exploring like what game design would be if you were just like in a in an open world and you have to survive. But like at the time, like there was not that many games or any game that did that really. What I remember, I think Rust was quite early, right?
Yeah, Rust. I think Rust was like probably the refinement of the open world survival genre. I think like basically once the Gary's Mod team got on that, and then like that, that's been their like most successful title.
It got released 2013 in December. Rust.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like yeah. I remember when that came out, like, oh wow, Rust is cool. But when did DayZ the mod actually get that popped out?
Let's see
mod. Let's see. It got. Oh, it's actually in the same time. 1 year. In the same year, 2013. Like it got the initial release like February 21st, not 2013. So I think at the time, like at around 2013 or 2012, like there was like a 2012 was like the time where everybody thought that the world was gonna go under. So maybe people were like, what if the world actually is under, and let's make a game about it? I don't know. I'm just speculating, but it's fun to like think about it, like see, okay, what happened there. And Arma 2 got released 2009, and then they made a mod on it. So I think Arma DayZ was the first.
Yeah. Also, I think in pop culture, like zombies were the thing back then.
Yeah.
Walking Dead coming up, and
COD zombies, etc.
COD zombies. They were like really in the hype back in the days.
That was awesome.
So let's jump back a bit. What would you say that is a good advantage of like going to a university compared to self-taught in that way, like getting your first industry job, for example?
Well, I would say in the industry you look more on practical skills, like how good you are as a let's speak 3D artist. I don't know. I can't speak for any other discipline like programming. I know they need some university to become a valid option for hire. But for artists, from what I would say, like if you're a really skilled or like modeler or a texture artist, compared to like anybody from a university that's done like 4 years or how much they do, but have like an average, I would still take like the person that is better at the skill. I think like the benefit from academic education is like you work in a different way. I'm not an academic person. I can't really speak for that. But from what I see, practical skill is way more important in my opinion.
I think like it's technique. Like I say this to everybody that ever asks me like, oh, like they always go like, what are schools doing wrong? And I'm like, well, I think schools are just really there to do foundational. It's really like foundational stuff. Like I compare it to hard skills and soft skills. So you know how like you have the hard skills, which is you need to understand how to use your modeling software. Like you guys know how to use Blender, you know how to use 3ds Max, you know ZBrush, and you can use those softwares, and you know where like all the buttons are, but it's not just knowing that, it's knowing how to like modify the geo, it's knowing how to like then take that software and create interesting shapes and forms that then replicate whatever the reference or the subject matter that you're being asked to do as a production artist. Or if you're going to be doing concepting, it's really down to like how well do you know what looks good and what are like traditional design, what are good forms, what works, and just knowing how to do great design. That's not taught at a lot of schools. They're just sort of like, oh, here's the modeling software, like this is what it does. And I think if you're wanting to just get your toes wet, like schools are great for that, but ultimately if you want to become like a professional, you kind of need to be like beyond just a student that's gone to school and learned like how to operate those modeling packages. That's that's my viewpoint on it.
I think it also kind of goes down to like what is actually taught at the school. Like maybe the academic education is really good. Like the teachers are, they have been in the industry. They're very academic people, and they know how to mentor people really well to give them enough information to get into the industry as like maybe a medium level artist or whatever. But it's hard to say in my opinion. Like I don't really know.
And sometimes that is not the case, unfortunately, in my experience. Most of the people that are teaching there are not from the games industry. They maybe have some similar industries coming from visualization or maybe the automotive industry, doing some design and 3D stuff there. But I never really saw a person that is really coming from the industry that really worked in this job for like 10 to 15 years to teach the things.
Yeah, no, I haven't witnessed that either. Maybe there is out there. Like, give us a shout out.
like an industry pro that's been in the industry for over like 20 years or something. Or what exactly? So I'm just kind of that comment's kind of I'm not really.
So I mean, like let's say a 3D artist who worked for like 10 years in the games industry. I never saw any like person teaching in a university or in a school. Mostly there are people that are coming from other industries that maybe ditched some like a little bit into game art, but never really know the daily business of being a 3D artist in the games industry, for example.
I disagree. I know, like in Australia, for example, there's a lot of people that have that go like in and out of like the schooling. Like I think just due to, I think just in the past, the industry, we've had sort of where things are looking good, and then like there's been a dry spell. Now we're kind of going into this golden age, in my opinion, just at the moment. But like there was a guy that I knew, he was like one of our competitors, and he was like head of studio for a company that had over like 200 people working under him, and now he's just like a professor at AIE, like one of the main game colleges here. So I don't necessarily agree with that, and I know like I'm talking with some of my guys, there's interest in teaching, so that's sort of why we're doing the mentorship. I think I think it's more so like, I think it comes down to the individual, and I also think it comes down to like, you know, the scene. Because like if you look at schools like Noman as well, like that's a, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Noman from LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yep.
they specifically, like all the teachers at that school have nothing but professionals teaching the craft, and
Yeah, great,
yeah.
great. Like in Germany, this is not the case. Well, schools like game schools here in Germany are not really that built for video game for the video game industry, and I think it has to be because of the lack of game companies here in Germany that you could work for. So there are no schools to like teach people when there are no companies. So there is no benefit from that, not yet.
Are they like academic schools? I know, like when we talk about schools, in my experience, like there is academic schools and then there is like work-focused schools. Like so.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some workforce schools, but they are super expensive and not really delivering what you want to have, and or they are like super. They're not into games industry. They are more like into artificial intelligence, computer learning, machine learning, like more something that the German industry can benefit from, like the car industry.
The future.
They're all targeted to like the automotive industry that's super big in Germany here.
What about Canada, Olivier? What about like your side of the pond?
I mean, I know there are some like schools in like Montreal and stuff like that. 'Cause that's pretty big game hub. But I haven't really heard of anyone's anywhere else really. I mean, I kind of had a similar experience because I remember now that before I did 3D, I went to college for concept art. So I
Yeah.
wanted to be a concept artist initially. That was a while ago. But honestly, like the professors that I had in that class, none of them worked in games or really in concept art, even for that
Yeah.
matter. They were mostly like illustrators, stuff like that. So to be honest, I didn't really learn a whole lot about concept art for games, which is what I want to do. So I think honestly, in the end, it basically comes down to researching the school and the professors and really seeing if they have that industry experience that you're after,
Yeah, like I did, like when I was in high school, they had like a little course like where I was at, and like the thing was is that I would do like a tutorial, right, and then the next week the class would be doing the exact same tutorial that I did. So it was really weird that the professor in the class was pretty much watching everything that I was doing, and I'd come in with my projects and I'd be like, oh, like, so like I did this project, and but like that's just due to like there was where I'm from, that it's like abysmal. There's literally no one. There's really like there's me and one other person in my city that actually does like game development, and we're the only two like professionals. The other guy's like a coder, and I run a 3D art outsourcing company, so it's slim pickings when it comes to like getting an actual professional. And I think that's the thing, right? I think it really comes down to the school researching who you're learning from, because
I do agree. Like a big part of it is from the mentor you have that helps you, that knows a lot of stuff that you're about to learn. But I think it also comes down to like the student and him or herself.
Yeah.
Like mainly. Sorry, but when I think about like academic schools, like you put in your assignment and then you get the grade kind of thing. Whilst how we work is not like oh, here's the assignment, give me the grade, give me the salary, but you have to push it. It's not that simple.
Well, with ours, it was competency based, so it was like, can they open up 3ds Max? Check. Can they model a box? Check. That was like the yeah. Can you model a box? You're hired.
Click a button and create the box.
Yeah, man.
I have to drag it out as well.
You gotta know how to make that box, man. Can they like modify the box? Yes. So it was super redundant, and it's not really in line with what like the industry's expectations are, right? Like, we're looking for creatives. Like, it's kind of, and like, I kind of wish Ryan was here around this discussion, because we're doing a lot of like kind of lobbying at the minute with the IGO, which is like an Australian-based organization. They're like an association that they're trying to get like the education in the industry less siloed out from each other, so like it's more in line with what's actually going on. And I think from what I see, I think it's going to be, we had also another discussion, like the type of artists you get, right? I think you get artists that are there to just do the work, and you're kind of like, hey man, I just really need a building, or like I need a vehicle. But then you have like those guys that come through the door, and they're really artisans. Like, they're super duper creative. Like, they're going to be the ones that are coming up with like the cool new ideas. They're going to be making like a lot of the inspiring sort of initial art, or like the stuff that's going to be going in front of the publisher when you pitch it. Like, we had to talk about like those. There's kind of like different levels, right? Like, I don't know if you guys kind of see that in studios at all. Like, it'd be cool to get your thoughts on that one. Like, people that just do like the work, and then like people that are kind of like doing the high level stuff, and they're really like selling the vision.
Oh yeah, there is always like those kind of people. I mean, I still believe that you need both. If everybody was highly creative, you have a fucking nightmare, man.
Would be chaotic.
Yeah.
You need people to just that are able to just sit down and do what needs to be done as well as the other person you kind of described. Like, there are people out there who they were born with these creative genes, and they know how to. It comes naturally for them. I would count myself to the first person, so I am not that generally creative. I had to learn my things, and I really had to dig down and grind out the stuff. But there are some persons out there who just they are in the industry for 1 or 2 years, and they are way better than I am.
In school environments like as well, like I remember that they were I don't know, I can't speak for academic educations, but like from the school that I were in, like there were a lot of very motivated people. They just wanted to, first step is get in to the industry, get an internship. But the way to the industry was like, a lot of people worked their asses off and worked super hard, and even slept in the school because they just wanted to fix their portfolio and get somewhere. So I think. But you can see, like, there is very few people that okay, this guy's going to be an art director. I'm very sure this guy's going to be an art director, or this guy's he's an ace. He just figures out stuff very good. Technical artists, for example, are really interesting to observe in those situations where they're just like, oh, I don't know how to model, but I know how to make cool stuff in Unreal. And I think like people that just like blows everybody's mind at very early, like even in school. I can see that happening. Like where they will land later on when they are in the industry. Let's say after 2 years of in the industry, they excel so much, and they're really hard to get the hand on once they're decided their mind, because they have they choose where to go. Like they don't necessarily like stay in one place for forever, but they choose to like, okay, I'm gonna do something new, because that's kind of like how their personality is as well. Like they jump from, you know, this is boring now, I'm gonna go to this one, this is interesting now, and just like, you know, complete mental ADHD kind of thing.
Yeah, I think like you get those people that are kind of like prodigies. Like, no offense, like Olivier, but I don't know, I kind of regard you as a bit of a prodigy when like you came in. It was like, I was like,
Really?
this kid's he's going far. Like, I was kind of taken back, and then like, you know, once we got you on the weapon train, you were going crazy. I was like, oh damn, this guy is he's got some ideas. So I'm really excited to see, like, you know, where you end up. Like, obviously you've hit round 2, like it's like second gig under the belt. Now you're like in a more like development environment, and yeah, I don't know, like I think just the different types of personalities that come out too. Like, I think you never know too, like where someone's gonna end up. I think, like, I don't know, have you had like what would be like kind of an experience that you had, Ivan, just with that? Like, I'm probably gonna go with Ivan just because he's been around for so long in comparison. You're like you're like the old timey man. You're like the vet. You got like the gray beard. Yeah.
Oh, shit, I'm the silver bat now. So with prodigy people, I mean.
Yeah, like just you know, you're just like,
yeah.
go ahead.
They from what I've noticed, like, they're very individuals. Like they excel in their individuality pretty much. They go a little bit against the grain, and they are very intelligent people. But for most, like, they excel because they dare to be individual. Like, you know, when it comes to a studio environment, you need to listen to, you know, it's good if you listen to feedback, but if you know, if the feedback goes down to like, oh, you completely remove your own individuality in your work, then, you know, you become more, you know, your spirit kind of dies out after years of doing that. Whilst it's very important to remember that, you know, when you do art, you are the artist, and I think it also goes down to in early stages where you know, whilst you're in school, like, you know, it's still down to the individual. Like, where do you want to push yourself? Like, where do you want to go? Where do you know, how much time and effort do you plan on putting down to this? Because, you know, if you get an assignment, yeah, fix this, yeah, you'll do the assignment, but then you think like, maybe I should push it a little bit more. But in a school environment, you don't. I don't know if you're necessarily pushed to extend to your own capabilities. But the like, let's say, quote unquote prodigies, they extend, they excel more because they just are more curious. They push into like, okay, what if I do this? What if I fail and do something completely crazy, and then see how the feedback is going to be on that. Maybe some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. There's always going to be opinions on whatever you do, but it's important to remember that you're the artist. You have an integrity to maintain. If you do art for yourself, you know, like, you know, personal art, I'm not saying like don't listen to feedback, but listen to constructive feedback. What makes you a better artist, rather than like, this is my personal opinion, I think purple is an ugly color and you should not use purple. Okay, well, that's your opinion. But the kind of the same in the industry, where these people excel. They are more like of a risk taker. They're not really afraid of having, like, you know, bad feedback coming their way, saying like, oh, this is not good because of that, this and that. But like the people that are longer in the industry are people that are more open to feedback, but also dare to break the rules and also do something a little bit more that someone else hasn't seen before. So it's in between. Like, but also one thing I've seen with these with people that are very skilled in the beginning, they die off after a while, because, you know, the industry is in a way that, you know, it's not always the case that you are allowed to express your creativity or even have a motivation to push yourself after 10 years of working with the same thing. So then you drop down and become just like, yeah, I'm just doing my job, and I'm not doing anything more exciting than that. But they also, have a tendency to just pop up, like bounce off that rusty routine and become like, fuck it, I'm gonna go on a killing spree and just make some crazy stuff. So people just get like, wow, what the hell is going on here? I didn't expect this.
I agree with that. Like, I don't know what box I'd put myself in. I'd kind of put myself in I'm a very unique case. Like, I don't think, you definitely could vouch for it. I haven't really had the most, I guess, normal career out of a lot of people in the industry. Like, I haven't really gone and worked at like an actual game studio. I went and sort of freelanced majority of it, and now like it's gone to kind of outsourcing and being a vendor, to running like a full game art team. I would actually kind of agree with it there. Like, I think you go through like stages where you're just kind of doing you're just going with the flow, and you're just trying to get the project done. And I think like if you just stay kind of stagnant for too long, I kind of look at it as like you stiffen up a bit and you get kind of rigid. But then you kind of get into this like mode where you're energized and you want to just start like kind of breaking the boundaries a bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I think
you break off your comfort zone. That's like what a lot of people really need when they're in that situation, I believe.
Yeah, because like, and I kind of akin like the mentorship program that we're running now. Like, I've spent so long being an external outsourcing vendor, and I love it, and I'm always gonna do it. But I feel like we've gotten to a stage where like I've kind of mastered it. I've gotten it down pat. I understand like how that game kind of works. I want to go and do something different, right? I want to expand like what my repertoire of knowledge is, and then kind of become like really, really talented and really skilled at like another area. And I think like that's what happens. I really see like, Olivier, what I reckon if I'm gonna do like predictive analysis on you, where like I think you're gonna start with your weapons, and then you're gonna go probably down the route that you're gonna want to become a concept designer. Like, would that be kind of a correct judgment, just in terms of me guessing where you're gonna end up? Like, or
possibly. I mean, I've been kind of trying to get back into concepting a little bit. So I'm trying to like learn the tools for that kind of stuff with Blender. So I definitely think you're on the right path with that one, probably.
Yeah, I guess like I look at it like with people like Alex Senechel, like Ivan. He was a good example of that. Like, he started.
Oh yeah.
He started with just general production art, and then like he just got in real good with like the concept designers and a lot of like the higher up creative people at 343, and then from there like he just branched out, and now like he's basically become like an art director. So like just seeing that progression over the years.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. Given with time, you just get better and better, and then you can kind of do whatever you want eventually.
Yeah.
I think an important factor is like, you get your own motivation and ego boost to like believe that you can go on and do something else. Like, if you're very confident at one level, like, you're really good at texturing, for example, and then okay, well, if I have that, but now I have like, comfort and a little bit of peace to just excel on something else as well, like, concept, or maybe if you want to do programming, material art, anything like that. So it's good to like start at somewhere, but not take in everything at once and try to become good at everything at the same time, but rather like focus. Okay, I'm good at modeling now I can, maybe I start animating, or if you want to go that path. I think when you start stagnating down into like becoming more and more like solidified in your position, is like when you stop learning actively anything. Like you don't activate your brain on you're discovering new things or learning or taking in new like ways of working or so on.
Yeah, I think like
That's what I think.
creating new like pathways, and like I'd say like even now with like the work for hire stuff, like I'm pretty much learning different areas of game development. Like, you know, we've just pretty much brought in animation, so I've been learning how that all works. I got a guy that we've just brought in, and he's teaching me about like doing IK rigs, ragdoll physics, getting like super nitty gritty to like coding custom tools in Unreal, and actually like getting an eye of like how that all kind of happens is really sweet. You know, we've been taking on more of that sort of work, and I kind of understand like, well, you know, if we got to do this and we got to do that. Our characters was like another thing. Like, you know, people think, oh, I want to become a character artist, but I'm like, just learn how to make props first, and once you understand how to like do props and you can sculpt, then like once you get into characters, like that's a whole nother ballpark. Like the amount of technicality that's around just what makes a character come to life in terms of like textures, shaders, you know, making sure that you don't break the rig, etc. Like you're working with multiple departments on probably one of the more difficult assets to nail in a production.
I would say characters are way more opinionated than props.
Yeah. In like in what way? Like
the you can always say something about a character, but whilst you do a prop, people begin to yeah, it's just a prop. It's fine. Let's move on. But like in general, like it's you know, making a character is not necessarily way harder than making a like a vehicle. It's just that there is more opinions and, you know, feedback on a character as well.
Yeah, I think because it's front and center, and
yeah,
everyone's sort of buying. It's kind of in a way they're trying to buy into those characters themselves. Yeah. Gustav, did you? I guess like, you know, do you have any perspective on it, or like I'm curious to know, like just with your background and such, like what you know what you've come across.
Yeah, for me, I think the case is I've been a freelancer now, and I think you need to focus on more things than just props or weapons. You definitely need to, you need to learn more skills than just that to have a wider range of what you can offer as an artist.
Yeah, I think seeing more like assets, like game assets in a portfolio is really cool. Like, you know, not necessarily like, you know, extremely complex pieces that takes you like forever to finish, but like you know, medium-sized assets that maybe have like an animation, maybe some lighting.
Yeah, or maybe a car or something that is always like nice to show.
Yeah.
Like some vehicle is always good in a freelancing or like a freelance 3D artist portfolio. So because this shows that you are also have the knowledge about like vehicles and things that are like artists for that. So yeah,
I do agree. It's always like refreshing to see something that's not being seen so commonly in portfolios that apply.
Exactly,
usually it is, you know, small assets or something very focused. But I mean, sure, if it's gonna be like, you know, a weapon artist, then, you know, you do a lot of weapons, of course. But it's also nice, like from experiences I see, you know, and during hiring process. I mean, when I've been on the other side of the hiring process, it's always been more generalistic approach to see like what people could do. Like, could it do characters? Could it do this? Could it do that? Because our work has always been very broad, so we don't really necessarily know what comes up from our producers to say like, yeah, we need to have a big thing with the things, and that's the only description we really get. How do we solve this thing? So having people that are very flexible in the work and have like a broad interest is appreciated. Like it's very nice to see that kind of work seen in portfolios, at least like vehicles for sure. But then you have the next step, like what do you do with the vehicle? Do you tell a story with the vehicle, or is it just like a vehicle? Is it an environment? How much are you as an artist willing to push your art, which is, I think, a really important factor. Because you get the portfolio is just like a little glimpse of your personality as well. Like if you like crazy stuff, maybe you have a very crazy personality, or if you have very dark stuff, maybe you have very good humor.
Also show that you like are willing to get out of the comfort zone and to try out new things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This can always be cool.
I've met an artist that just he wouldn't get out of his comfort zone. I know that like he had a very unique style that only like he liked, but he would refuse to do anything outside of it. And like in a way, his own personality and his own interests were a crutch. And it was kind of funny because like he would just he couldn't imagine why anyone would want to make like a Call of Duty game or anything like that. And I'm like, dude, like that's what's hot right now. Like everyone wants a COD game, and like now everyone wants a Fortnite kind of game. So you've got to be able to break out of like that box, right?
Yeah. This might be an unpopular opinion. Like some very young people that start out with jumping into the games industry, they are really biased. So they have their favorite game, and every other game that is not their favorite game is bullshit, and I want to make my game. And you know what I mean? Like these nerdy approach to video games. I think you have to see the bigger picture of like what is hot. And
I do agree very much, because like I think, as you said, like that also brings up the next generation of like what people need, and then everything's going to be the same, and you have very few breakthroughs in like what could be interesting as a game idea.
Yeah, but
what was the last game for you guys that really blew your mind, where you said like, oh, this is something new here, I'm playing something that I never that really surprised me. I never thought that it would be that cool. Or that really had a new approach to gaming.
I have two games. One is Super Landlord, I think it's called, and the Power Wash Simulator.
Oh, the sim games.
The Power Wash Simulator is just like you walk around with a big hose and you clean stuff. That's it.
Oh yeah, like basically it's like the end of like an FPX match, and it's like
it's fucking great.
Yeah. No, I get you. Nah, it's like, yeah, it's just another perspective. Like, bruh, who's gonna be on the cleanup crew for like sorting this shit out and like, yeah. No.
It's perfect. You chatting like with your friends late night. You just, I want to play something and I want to think about it. I'm gonna clean shit in this Power Wash Simulator. Perfect.
This is the game. This is the game for me. Yeah, like in terms of like, when you mean, I guess like that's just so I can reframe the question. The question, Christoph, is that like gameplay wise, or are you talking more so like art style, like visually? Like what's
I think it can be both. Yeah, something that really dropped your jaw, and you said like, oh, I'm playing something that really broke the loop and really came up with something fresh. I really didn't think about that.
I would say like probably if there's anything that was like It Takes Two was like a big one, I think, just in terms of like
Oh,
gameplay.
Oh
like,
yeah, this
that
is one for
was
me.
That was great.
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
huge. Like, because it was a really cool art style. I think one.
And so many aha moments. Like, this makes sense.
Yeah, and it takes you
Gameplay
back to
wise.
like maybe like a Portal 2 kind of deal. Like remember like Portal and then Portal 2 and like how great those games
Yeah.
were. Like they were just good puzzles. I think like art style wise though too, it also cements kind of, I think Pixar's sort of style is shining very much through a lot of like more modern titles now across the board. Like a lot of people are taking inspiration from like Pixar and like modifying it, or even like Blizzard's WoW. Like a lot of games are taking that style and just putting it into the game, and that's what's making it appealing. It's making something that would be otherwise dull and realistic, and then adding like kind of interesting creative forms around it with like a realistic material base to it. That's what I'm seeing a lot in terms of like, if a game's gearing towards more of a realistic kind of approach, it's in that Pixar kind of vein, and then if it's going stylized, it's really going down the path of like something close to Blizzard. I don't know what.
I think visually speaking, like games from Arcane Studios, like Dishonored and
Yes.
Deathloop,
Yes.
I'd really like those. And also like I don't remember this. It was a Russian game, Atomic Heart.
Yeah, Atomic Hearts. Yeah.
Yeah, that also was like a moment of like, cool. I haven't seen this stuff before, but it really intrigues me in a really good way.
Because it's got a Bioshock, like it's very like Russian Bioshock kind of feel to it, and I think
Post-Sovietic stuff. It's always interesting to look at those shapes and like the setting. It's just like it brings up like a feeling, or like of depression. but it's just cool. It's just visually like it. Wow, I didn't think this could be done in 3D before. That's kind of how I feel when I see that stuff. It's like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I like Yeah, Olivia, you go. Like, I don't think we've had your take yet.
I was gonna say the biggest, like, most different, interesting game that I've played recently would probably have to be Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, I'm a huge Half-Life fan, and like when a game was about to come out, my brother and I were like, okay, we gotta play this game somehow, because we've been waiting for episode 3 forever, and so we both split and found a headset and bought a headset, and we pretty much bought it just to play Alyx, and it was honestly just like the most mind-blowing gaming experience I ever had. It was just so different, just like being able to like be in a room and actually just like pick up things and like scavenge for things, and just like the art style and just the visuals are just incredible to see for the first time.
Yeah. What I like about Half-Life as well is that, I don't know, would you call it cyberpunk-ish kind of deal? Like, it's sci-fi, but
I don't know if it's really cyberpunk.
no, it's science fiction.
Yeah.
I think like the coolest thing is that you've got like that modern technology like built in with like old school European design, and
Yeah.
I really love that. I think it's like something that isn't done too often, kind of like blending the old and the new together.
Yeah, I think that's why Dishonored was pretty successful in terms of the art style, because it's very similar.
It's
You
got
have
like,
that old and then the new, like the metal and stuff like that.
yeah, and you've got like the painterly feel. Like you look at Arcane and how,
Yeah.
I think that show for me was like a big deal when I got to see like just the visual aesthetic. I've never played League of Legends. I've never ever like really taken too much of interest in like Riot Games stuff. Even though I've had like a tour of the studio and whatnot, I've just never played any of their games.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's.
I never was interested in this type of games. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm not a PC gamer at all, so this was maybe the main reason why I skipped those games. And then I just don't find them interesting. That's the way it is. And also the new Elden Ring. Are you guys playing it? Are you guys interested in that?
No.
Oh yeah, I got it, but I can't get it to run on my Xbox controller.
Okay. Yeah, for me these games, they look so, I don't know, so clunky. So the UI looks shit in my opinion. I couldn't be interested less in these games. I don't know why.
I've never been interested in Souls games either.
I'll be honest. I played Sekiro, and I'm interested in getting Elden Ring. It's just like having the time to invest in it, because it's such a large game from what I've seen, and and how hard.
The reviews are also great, right? They are like going through the roof.
Yeah, what I love about those games, right, is I think it's the challenge aspect. It's the satisfaction of mastering the mechanics, and that's really like what the joy and the investment in like Elden Ring itself. That's what I get out of it, and that's what I really loved about Sekiro. It's kind of like, as I'm playing this game, I'm like honing my skills and I'm getting better, and I'm basically working my way up to like the final boss. That's what the investment is there, and I think that's what the drive is. Like I wouldn't call From Software like the craziest or the most nicest art style, but I don't think that's like what they're going for. I think like the style is very intentional, to be honest. Like that's what it's built to look that way.
I just hope that I can find like a Fable replacer.
Well,
I don't know. Probably doesn't mean like anything if I just say like I need a Fable replacer. But the first time I ever played Fable, I want that feeling, and I want to find a game that gives me that feeling.
Well,
hopefully, Elden Ring can do it.
They're making a new one. They're making a new.
Oh
one.
yeah.
So fingers crossed. I don't know. I kind of want Elder Scrolls, the new one, to be like really good. Cause like, yeah, I don't know. I was just really let down with Fallout. I just felt like, I just remember like pouring hours into Oblivion and Fallout 3. Like those two games were two of the games that I would just absolutely spend hours.
Oh, you mean Fallout 4?
I thought it was Fallout 3. And like then there's like Fallout New Vegas, right? Like you had Oblivion, and then you had like Fallout 3 on the Xbox 360 and like PC.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like those games, man. Those were like, for me, those were like the kind of, they were it. I enjoyed the art style improvements on Fallout 4. I enjoyed the technical updates, but like I don't know. It's like it's one of those things, right? I don't know. I feel like modern dev has really sort of changed how games are made now, and I think games aren't really made the same way they were before. Now they're trying to monetize everything that they can, because you see how much time and cost is going into the development. Like projects that used to take like a 3-year cycle, it's now going to a 7-year cycle. The amount of developers required for a project is increasing. So they need to find ways to monetize those games more than they used to.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where the industry is going. I think the bubble of like huge, really huge studios will go down, and then you will find like more smaller studios.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I think that it's like the education and what people expect from the game industry is going to that huge studio direction still. But I don't know. I mean, that's a very interesting area to observe for sure. I do find it interesting to follow that. Because smaller teams can achieve quite a lot of stuff, and also from my experience, like smaller teams in general work way more effective than larger teams of like 100 people. Then you have like a studio of like 30 people, for example. Then you have way better communication, clearer understanding of what you need to do, and it's easier to set like a goal and expectation with your resources. It's harder from what I see. Like it's harder to estimate with like large amount of people rather than small amount of people.
I would agree. Like the bigger thing is like the bigger the company gets, right? If you're gonna change direction, you're like turning a giant oil tanker in comparison to just doing a U-turn with a car. So it makes sense. I think what will happen, right, is that you'll have like these large conglomerates that will just pay out these smaller, like really loved, successful small to mid-sized studios, and they'll get like X amount of budget per annum, and it'll just go to the game streaming like service. So it'll be like Netflix, right? You'll have like your gaming as a service. You'll pay like whatever amount of money per month, whatever the new releases under that big corporate conglomerate is. Like you'll get your access to your titles. And in terms of like being a game developer, right, the publishers, you'll have like these smaller kind of entry level publishers that everyone's kind of going through, right, to do it. And essentially what they're really trying to do is get that big win and try and get snapped up by one of those big companies, so then they can just keep making like whatever games that they want, and they're getting the funding for it year on year. And if the games are performing, they're getting eyes on them, they're getting viewers, and people are actually like waiting for whatever the new game is that's coming out the door. That's what I really see. Like that's what I think the future of like the industry is going to turn out to be.
How's your approach on crowdfunding? Like I think there are some projects out there who really failed crowdfunding, but I don't know if this is still a thing in the industry. Like people already paying for stuff they haven't seen in years. So how's your approach on that?
So my look at crowdfunding, and like this is gonna be very like controversial, is the crypto space. So looking at developers like Garlic Games is probably a big one, Axie Infinity. My biggest issue with the crypto space is that like I haven't seen any good games come out of it. It's just been a lot of cash grab like kind of games, and I see the companies that go out and they make their own token to then raise funds. And like basically what happens is that like that token's performance is, if the people aren't like, just trying to do a pump and dump scheme with it, like those tokens are in some way represent like stock. Basically you put more tokens out on the market, people can buy in, and to some extent, like people are investing in your game, so to speak. And if the game is a success, then the perceived market value of said token is increasing. So that's, I guess like that's how I kind of visualize crowdfunding. And that's where I'm seeing where a lot of it is kind of going at the minute. I don't know, like I'm still very new to the space. I'm still trying to understand crypto and get an idea of like, well, a lot of people are kind of just saying no, but I don't think it's necessarily going to go away. I think what will happen is we'll get some people that are there to do the right thing with it, are there to innovate in the space, and they'll find some way to synergize the technology into what we're trying to do. That's what I really see. But it'd be good to get your guys' thoughts and opinions just on that topic.
Oh, I would love to give my opinion, but I have to leave.
Yeah.
I have to go.
Yeah, I'd say we could make it a topic for like a later date, because like we've been on the old voice box for about an hour.
Oh,
so,
time flies fast.
Yeah,
but I just have to go on an errand. But really nice talking to you guys. And everybody that's listened, thanks you for listening to us.
It was a great chat with you. There's still so many topics left to speak about.
Perfect. We have a lot of content to produce, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, I gotta go. I really gotta go. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye guys. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next week. All right. Peace. Dope.